Hey there everyone, first of all, my apologies for the re-upload. I noticed on this video I'd missed a few things and made some really bad mistakes that to me were just unacceptable. But thank you to everyone for your kind comments and ratings on the video before. It was just overwhelming and it really made my day. Thank you to everyone, it was awesome. Okay guys, here's take two. Check this out. Today I want to talk about something I'm really interested in, and that's Bohemia maps. However, I feel this is a huge subject, so I'll be making more videos expressing different ideas to possibilities. Everything from ideas expanding current maps, new maps, to even talking about business models. But before I start, just so you know, this is pie in the sky. But if you know me in my videos, I love talking pie in the sky. I absolutely love it. With constant advances in computers and internet, the sky's the limit with online gaming, so I believe we're not too far off pie in the sky talk becoming more possible. This is a great time for all developers, whether starting off or established, to start thinking bigger for the future, even with modders too. Modding is also a massive factor as well in gaming, especially when regarding a company like Bohemia, as it has a very strong modding following, plus has even developed a game from a popular mod. This is a huge edge the company has in the industry and could expand on even more so. But that'll be for another episode, because in this episode I'm talking about extending the current Chernarus map for DayZ. Check this out.
Here's the pitch.
The Chernarus Map. The old classic many have been playing since Arma 2, a segment from a fictional former Soviet Republic nation, reworked and expanded with DayZ standalone. Over the years, a lot of hard work has gone into making this map and its assets. There is little else out there that can rival it in terms of scale, other than other Arma maps of course. Also probably maybe Minecraft, but that's a completely different style of game altogether. Even though the map is massive, as an avid player I want to first put forward some points that will argue for more land expansion. Firstly, even though the map is massive, I'm getting bored of visiting the same places. Over the last 18 months I've circled clockwise, anti-clockwise, zigzagged, to totally spaghettied it. All the better loot is to the west, so more people loot there. So if I want some action, Electro to Cherno, to below to Airfield, to the southwest military base, to Pavlovo, to Zelenogorsk, to Green Mountain, to Vybor military base, to the northwest airfield, and then back and forth and back and forth. To break the monotony, I'll go visit the northeast airfield. Ah, the northeast airfield. Once one of the most notorious places for predators and firefights, but when they took away the military buildings eons ago, the water hole ran dry overnight and the gazelles stopped coming. Since then I can't remember the last time I bumped into anyone there. This could be said for Novo Dramidovisk along with some other northern rims, as they are pretty quiet in general, but those places are good if you want to go for a fairly quiet raid with no run-ins. My next point, overcrowding the map with towns and cities. As I'm playing a survivor, I really wanted isolated places and vast forests and countrysides, places way out in the sticks I could get lost in, huge sections of wilderness I could set up camp and hide out in and bug out from more urban populated areas, defending myself from wolves, bears and wandering zombies, to relying living off the land and hunting more than scavenging from ruins as buildings are more scarce. I understand this is a throw up between certain gamers because some people would get more bored if there were fewer urban areas, so I understand why it's been built up more, but at the same time it limits wider rural spaces where one can hide away and have more meaningful survival gameplay. Third point, I really want more vehicles just as much as anyone else, but I reckon once we get more prone to driving and hitching lifts, the map is going to shrink even more in size. It's a catch-22 situation because at the same time I wouldn't have thought that people want cars to be rare, as thousands of us have been playing in alpha on foot and I really want a variety of cars and bikes to interact with on a frequent basis. With vehicles, travel time is shorter, meaning the same places are visited more frequently, and this coincides back to point 1. The fourth point, and this is really down to my personal feelings if other players can relate to them. Now I've been split whether I should talk about expanding the map at all, because sometimes it takes me and groups ages to get somewhere and I think to myself, wow, this map is massive, it doesn't need to be expanded. Then other days I get to the edge of the map and think to myself, damn, I don't want to go back, left or right, I just want to keep on going. There's probably some of you that would say, you should be grateful you have it at that current size, isn't that enough for you? No! I'm ungrateful, spoilt and greedy, it's not enough. I want more of this awesome world to explore. Who's with me? Right, so this is my suggestion. Here we have a diagram of the full country. I've talked to players over some time about where you could expand the map out to. You could expand out to cover more of the border mountains, perhaps even expanding to more into Russia, but I reckon that would lead to more creation of more unnecessary content. Definitely sticking to Chernarus would be more practical if the land expansion was ever possible. When considering the shape of the country, if it was expanded, one of the obvious routes would be expanding a new section to the west. There you would have more access to more of the countryside and mountainous regions. Expanding across by 50% would be great, but I'm greedy, so I say make it 100 and double up on the map. Now that in itself is a ridiculous size, but I reckon to make it run consistently with the coastline and include more ocean, why not push it that little bit bigger? With Chernarus, I reckon for the ultimate apocalyptic bonanza, you could have a Chernarus megamap expanded to the southwestern areas with 3 new sections, so South Segura reaches past Miroslav to covering more ocean. Yeah, wow, that's ridiculous. GTFO, your head is really on Planet Pop-Tart right now, but hear me out and let me see if I can sell you the dream. From what is covered in the 4 squares, this is what it would cover. Plenty of both ocean and land for players to tackle, more than enough. To give it more insight, a high definition detail photographic overhead map would work better here. So have I made a ridiculously high def and detailed photographic map? You're goddamn right. This took a long time. As I had a point before about wanting to survive in more of a wilderness area, starting in the northwest you could have a wilder area of mountainous regions, thick forests with a few small mining towns and villages dotted along the roads. With the higher areas you could have traces of snow and colder temperatures. This could offer more challenges and a lot more interesting scenarios where you'd have to collect the right gear when travelling deep into the high mountains. And may I also add on a side note, if seasons were ever implemented, a mountainous region with treacherous sub-zero temperatures and perhaps even snowstorms could lead to some interesting survival gameplay. That's just a thought I threw out there, but I guess the season thing is more of a different subject altogether. When concerning the layout, so much could be done with Chernarus that hasn't been done before. Firstly, with the map layout, I tried to illustrate how you could go from east to west with the villages getting fewer and further apart, so it keeps in consistency with the current map but gives you that contrast of a wilderness to more of a countryside. But to compensate for the lack of urban areas, I've featured 2 places that are more heavily urbanized. The first place is a city in the north. Now, in the current map, the larger cities and industrial areas are on the coast, so to have a large work town deeper in the country would make more sense here. Maybe this could be a city that could be based more on freight trains than docks, but you could still give it a presence with water, as it is situated by a large river. And that brings me to another feature, and that's a river. Now, from the past games, it's evident that Bohemia are not very big fans of rivers and streams. Though I understand it. If you're designing huge maps, you've got to prioritise on what works best for your engine. But to any devs, as a compromise, how about a wide river at sea level? It wouldn't have to have visual effects or water speed, just to have it so you could explore boating from north to south. So if you follow the river down, it will open out to the coast by a city called Miroslav. Now there's a map already based around Miroslav, but as a suggestion, as it's situated by a river, it could have more of a historical aspect to it than just another port city. So if it had a castle by the sea with some broken medieval city walls spanning around the section, so it's not just a bland town, it could be themed on something different than the other coastal cities. Plus, what also would be great, if you had a large community, you could reinforce and barricade the ruins to make a larger safe zone. You could do loads with this. So that's just a few features. I put loads more ideas into this map and could talk about it all day. But sticking to the points, going back to my point on vehicles, I reckon vehicles would be way more beneficial here, as travelling on foot would take you hours. This would make cars, buses and bikes more of a necessity. Perhaps the great thing about having more distance would make players have to prepare more for a journey and have to craft and gather more items to fix the car up or protect it from bandits, but also give a real sense of travelling long distances from A to B than what feels to be just driving around in circles with the current map. Going even further to endgame content like advanced vehicles such as aircraft, the range kind of helicopters and biplanes, this once again makes travel time even shorter, so much that flights are short and you're flying around in circles. A more modern map like Altis, I would say, doesn't have this problem due to its size and shape. It accommodates for aircraft very well. But when it comes to Chernarus, it's good, but it doesn't allow for aircrafts to be used to their full potential. However, with a bigger map and utilising the ocean more, the aircraft would be king and offer some fantastic challenges and gameplay like never before. For aircraft and also boats, the sea could hold loads of opportunities. I've covered Utes Island on this, but to make more use of the sea, you could have a few more islands dotted around the place to be stumbled upon. A place in DayZ that a community could travel to and build an island enclave. There the group could launch regular incursions and missions to mainly bring back resources or to just raid other people's bases and laugh about it as they fly back to theirs. I think that navigating the sea would be quite challenging and amusing. For instance, in Armour, you can always rely on the map to check your position and heading, but in DayZ, you don't have that, so you're flying by sight only. I can imagine you'll get peeps complaining because their entire group died because they got lost at sea. Well, good. Make it hard. Next time, get a better navigator. Maybe this is where GPS gear and equipment could be brought in as well. Another thing the sea could have is abandoned oil rigs. For this, devs would have to design the asset, or perhaps it'd be down to modding, but either way, an oil rig would make an excellent base or place to raid when on the ocean. Other platforms such as tankers and boats would be good, and I think this would be particularly interesting, because like helicopter spawns, you could have ship spawns. Because civilization has ended, you could have ships floating adrift in the ocean. I reckon what would be good would be having ships and different types of ships that spawn, both commercial and military, but when they spawn, they could slowly be sinking, making it a race against time to board the ship and see what you can get your hands on before it goes under. Now, something this size would be amazing and give you hours of entertainment, but putting some gravity on my pie in the sky talk here and considering the input from my first video, this can't happen under the current game engine. Perhaps private hives where servers work together, crossing over players seamlessly, would be more workable, but I have no doubt that would be stupidly complicated, and from what I've heard, close to impossible. Talking hypothetically, even if a map this size was achievable, something around 300 players would be fitting for a map this size. Now, getting 300 players working together on the same universal hive is one thing for developers, but on the players side, you could have difficulty sustaining numbers for your hive, and if the hive numbers keep low, then the whole online gaming aspect will be pointless because people are too few and far apart. So instead of expanding Chernarus, the DayZ team will be releasing existing maps. Like I said, Chernarus this size would be awesome, but it's OTT so much that it will always be just a dream. I didn't want to talk on this subject to rally people into saying, yeah, this is what we want, because I guess we'd be asking for the impossible here. However, I think this is what a lot of us do want. We really want more land, even though it's not possible yet. But I hope this concept touches on ideas and holds as a reference for things that could be done in the future. Perhaps something similar could be done come the next game engine advanced more in handling larger scale maps. Because when it comes to PC gaming, Bohemia devs and modders have been great at building large worlds. I only hope that in the future maps keep pushing boundaries and map sizes and more types of environments within the land. So that's the whole scope of things and my take on it. There's loads more stuff in this map, but I'll leave it down to you peeps to check it out and let me know what you think. Download it now for $59.99. I couldn't get any lower than that. Haha, just joking. It's free! It's just a bit hefty on the file size though. The download link is at the bottom. So that's it everyone. I hope you found that interesting and let me know what you think. Like and subscribe for more. The more support I can get, the more I can get things out to you. And to my current supporters and subs, thank you for all your support so far, and also thank you for hanging in there as well. I know it's been long. From Credidreds, take care out there peeps and stay safe.